is a story being reported out of Wisconsin, but it is not getting national coverage. And I think that is a huge mistake, especially after listening to what the victim's family said in court. Now let's get into what's being reported.
Story you likely haven't heard much about from the legacy media. A 61-year-old woman in Madison, Wisconsin, gunned down cold blood while walking into work.
Yeah, she was allegedly targeted by a former co-worker with a grudge and a political vendetta. Our crime correspondent Jason Matera here with the details.
Okay, so I want to stop there first. Right off, this is a serious, violent crime. A woman is killed on her way to work. And allegedly, it could be a former coworker with a grudge. And it could be political? Wow. Just wow.
Yeah, Carl Charlo, once you hear these details, it'll be pretty clear why the so-called mainstream media isn't exactly rushing to cover this one. So Diamond Wallace, she's going to be shown here, is set to make her next court. There she is, set to make her next court appearance on April 1st. She's being held on a $2 million bond, facing a first-degree murder charge in the killing of Christine Jones, a 61-year-old hotel employee in Madison, Wisconsin. Police say this attack unfolds on March 22nd. Jones parks her car in the hotel garage and starts to head for the entrance a little before 8 a.m. Authorities say at this point, surveillance video shows someone running up behind Jones, and seconds later, she's on the ground, shot in the back and pronounced dead at the scene. The accused killer, Diamond Wallace, who also went by the name St. Laurel Vargas, wasn't a total stranger. She apparently worked at the same hotel as the victim, but was fired last year. Yet this attack doesn't appear to be simply a workplace grudge, but a political targeting as well. According to the criminal complaint, Diamond Wallace had expressed animosity towards the victim, Jones, because she was a Trump supporter. Court records also indicate that Jones had a Trump hat visible in her vehicle, something police had discovered after her body was found.
Okay, so as you can see, according to the arrest report, there could be some political targeting here. So then the question becomes, why isn't this being covered more nationally? I mean, you see the Newsmax report. There was a little written report from Fox News, but other than that, I haven't seen this covered anywhere. But imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if this were a Democrat who was being targeted for their political beliefs. I believe this will be covered everywhere, and I'm sincere about that. But I'd like to know your opinion. Please put it in the comments below. Do you think if the roles were reversed that we would be seeing this reported more nationally? Let me know your thoughts. Now, here's the part I haven't heard anybody talking about, and that is the victim's family's response to all of this. So a member of the family attended the virtual bail hearing for Diamond Wallace, and I'm not going to show that here just to be respectful to the family, but this is something you can find online. Now, this family member told the judge just how life-shattering and devastating the loss of Christine had been for the family, and they also asked for an extremely high bail, so the bail was set at $2 million, but the family asked for a $10 million bail. Now let that one sink in. But here's the thing that struck me. The family said they are living in constant fear and that they wouldn't feel safe if Diamond Wallace were released from custody. Now, can you imagine? But once you look at Diamond Wallace's arrest record, you start to put the pieces together and understand why the family may be feeling this way. Now, I want to dig into the arrest report and look at some of those things. I wanted you to see that it's all online. This is all public record. And I think that's important so you can verify that she was indeed possibly targeted because she was a supporter of Donald Trump. I think that's important today when everybody's looking for facts and hearsays out there. I think it's important that you can find all of this online. Diamond Wallace and Christine Jones, they worked together. Christine was in a supervisor role. And during that time, Wallace allegedly accused Christine of being a racist and expressed animosity towards her because she supported Trump. Now, according to the complaint, there was both personal tension and ideological tension, and Christine reportedly complained about Wallace's performance at work. So now it isn't just political, right? It's a workplace conflict on top of that. At some point, this escalated into Wallace. According to this complaint, Wallace returned to the hotel. She caused disturbances at the hotel. She exhibited threatening behavior, and a manager even filed for a restraining order. This time, there were also allegations that Wallace damaged property, including breaking a phone and possibly slashing Christine's tires. The complaint states that Wallace blamed Christine for her termination and had threatened her after being fired. But let me be clear, this didn't come out of nowhere. It appears to have happened over time. In September of 2021, Wallace was convicted of a felony, resisting an officer and causing injury. That conviction legally prohibited her from having a firearm, and yet she possessed one anyway. There was also a separate incident earlier this year involving her sister. She was apparently accused of firing a weapon at her, and investigators say the same caliber weapon and casings may be linking the two cases. So this starts to look less like a one-off situation and more like an escalation, at least to me. This is why Christine Jones' family and what they said in court, I think, matters so much, because it's coming from somewhere real. Now, while there may be factors we don't fully understand yet, I do think this story should be receiving national attention because, in my opinion, rhetoric matters. And right now, we have a serious rhetoric problem in this country.
This shooting is now at the center of a larger debate over left-wing political violence. The Dane County GOP says city leaders there have turned Madison, Wisconsin into a hostile place for anyone who doesn't fall in line with leftist orthodoxy.
And I just want to pause that right there. When I was researching this story, I did find some TikTok and YouTube videos from people who were more locally situated, and they did back up about the political violence fears some of the GOP feel in the Madison area. So I think this is very important to check out here.
There's a fair amount of political violence that has taken place here. A lot of our people are very scared of what's going on in Dane County and in Madison. And we don't hold events in downtown Madison for this precise reason. And you never know what's going to happen. To say that they're scared is an understatement.
So according to some local voices, as you heard right there, including members of the GOP, there are concerns about safety, and hearing that people feel they need to avoid certain areas, to me, that's something worth paying attention to. And this is where my bleeding heart comes into play, not going to lie. I don't think this is okay at all. We live in a country right now where there are a lot of people, they're out there holding No Kings rallies, talking about democracy, saying it's under threat. But I have to be honest here, because from my perspective, there are times when the rhetoric and behavior coming from these people at these rallies, from the left, that sort of thing, it can start to feel like the very thing they're warning about. So we're seeing situations where people feel like they're being attacked, or at the very least judged and targeted for their support of President Trump. And I'll say this personally, I have felt that. So I think it's fair to ask, how is this not part of the problem? And I think that's something we need to be honest about. Because if we're going to talk about protecting democracy, that has to include respecting people you disagree with. It just has to. I do want to switch gears real quick here and say that there is a positive aspect of this case, and that's how law enforcement were able to identify the suspect. So police used surveillance tools, these license plate reader cameras called flock cameras, to track the movement and help build the case. But here's the tension. There are ongoing debates locally about whether these tools should continue to be funded, and that's mostly due to privacy concerns. So it's really a privacy versus public safety situation. If you are a local Madison area resident and this matters to you, you might want to get involved, contact your local council members and just let your voice be heard. Now, before I wrap up, I do want to touch on something that happened this weekend. So, Saturday Night Live, they aired a segment, and it is getting some backlash. Here, take a look.
Watch.
President Trump attended the opening night of Chicago at the Kennedy Center, and I think that's cool that the president is going to the theater. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
President Trump faced 2 real assassination attempts during his 2024 campaign run. It was first happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. That was July 13th. A bullet grazed his ear while he spoke at an outdoor rally. One man behind the president was fatally shot that day. Then in September, a man was plotting to shoot the president on his golf course in West Palm Beach, but was caught and arrested by Secret Service. Jonathan,
And to that I say, boo, SNL, boo! I'm all about First Amendment rights. We've been talking about that a lot this year. But with First Amendment rights comes responsibility. And look, culture shapes perception, SNL. And while most people hear extreme rhetoric and move on, not everyone does. And when you combine rhetoric, instability, and prior patterns of behavior, that's when things get real. And as a country, I really think we need to be taking these things more seriously. And it's why stories like this need to be covered nationally. And I really mean that. So on this channel, I will do my best to cover stories on a more local level that you aren't hearing about nationally, especially when they speak to the larger narrative that we should be having, at least in my opinion, as a country. Thanks for watching my video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. This is a new channel and it will really help me grow. And don't forget to pray, stay informed, and be well. I appreciate all of you.